Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Slammer4, and today I have the tremendous pleasure of casting a match which comes from the Littlewargame ProLeague. This is a match. If you're not familiar with the Littlewargame ProLeague, I will drop some of those details of that below. In fact, if you'd like to play in that Pro League, looks like this week each team is going to be allowed to add a substitute to their team, so do check out those details. I'll be posting below. Also, the standings of that are going to be posted on that challenge page. But this comes from Matchday 2. The match is Latin Bloc versus Team Destroy Call. Team Destroy Call is represented by NorM on the map Ravaged, and Kaitaro is representing Team Latin Bloc. So Latin Bloc consists of Dragon Archer Z, Kaitaro, Axeles, and I'm forgetting briefly the name of the Vizix fan is Team Latin Bloc, and then Team NorM, or Team Destroy Call, excuse me, consists of Destroy Call, Eternal Circus, Hobo, and NorM. So this is a pivotal map in this series. Giving you the background, the series would currently tie 2-0 up for Team Destroy Call. They won the first two maps, Hobo and Eternal Circus winning. So this is map number 3. If NorM wins this map, then Latin Bloc will be defeated for this match. If Kaitaro wins, then Latin Bloc will bring their ace player and their 4th player out, Dragon Archer Z, versus Destroy Call, the ace for Team Destroy Call. So really a pivotal map because Dragon Archer Z is the best player in the game at the moment. So he has the potential to take that tied series, win the 4th map, tie it to 2-2, and then win the ace match, which is what he did in Matchday 1 against Team OP Kata. So really critical for Kaitaro to win, and also for Team DC. If NorM can take this, then they win in a clean 3-0 sweep. Matchday 1, they actually beat Nerf Raiders 3-0, with Destroy Call not even playing his match. So right off the bat, we have a Raider skirmish, and Kaitaro gets the upper hand on that. Raider skirmishes are always a bit of a knife fight, because Raiders, I mean, no pun intended, since Raiders do fight with knives, but just in general, it's kind of a you never know what's going to happen exactly. And a nice win from Kaitaro. He does a jump, and he gets the worker as well. So already an advantage for our red player for Latin Bloc. He's got 2 kills on his Raider. And now NorM has built an Archer, which makes it a little hard as well, because 2 Raiders could jump on this Archer and do a lot of damage. NorM was going to have workers to defend. Meanwhile, both players are adding on their own castles, and you can see that 1 worker advantage for Kaitaro and Team Latin Bloc here. NorM is just going to try to hug his worker with his Archer and just defend this way. Kaitaro is going to trade a lot of HP on his Raider to get this worker down to red health. Looks like he's going to get it. Ooh, derps! Big mistake from Kaitaro. He should have, the Shroud here canceled the attack move order, so the Raider started derping. When you get to a ramp, you have to right-click the worker up the ramp, otherwise he'll derp around and not follow the damaged worker. So NorM actually does not lose a worker. And he forces these Raiders to run away. Now, Kaitaro did not lose the Raider. He actually got a good clutch jump off. I thought the Raider was about to go down. But because of the low HP, these Raiders are kind of out of the game for a while. Raiders do heal pretty quickly. So eventually these Raiders can be useful later in the game for Kaitaro. But there's really no more damage to be done for either player. But overall, I would say nice opening for Latin Bloc. They're up. Kaitaro's up a worker. And the game continues on at a pretty normal pace. Kaitaro just kind of sharking around with his Raiders, trying to keep an eye on what the army composition from NorM is, and also keep an eye on when that 3rd base might be going down, which is really important stuff. Want to point out the tech here. Kaitaro has thrown down a pretty early Church. So Church before 3rd base, which is a really interesting choice here. He's already getting a Priest out, and he's only working off of 1 Rax. So I'm curious to see whether he is going to go for some early pressure with this Church. Perhaps do an early attack with either healing or possibly even invisibility. Meanwhile, more houses coming down for NorM. Just really standard stuff, Rax versus Rax play from both players. Again, just really a slight advantage for Kaitaro, although the tech choice paths are now really diverging, with NorM throwing down his expansion here, looking at a 40 supply expand, whereas Kaitaro has gone all the way up to, actually it's a 50 supply expand, excuse me. Kaitaro has also gone up to 50 supply, but he is just adding units. He's throwing, oh yeah, and it is going to be invisibility. We are going to see, yeah, a major invisibility play coming from NorM. And it's going to be a 2 racks invisibility. Let's see how many priests, if he's going to go with just 2, maybe 1 priest, possibly. With 2, once he gets 100 energy, he can use 2 invisibility spells on units. So NorM has actually been cutting production to get this castle out. He is going to have more units overall. Well, actually not, because between the Raider and the Priest, it looks like Kaitaro's going to be attacking with roughly 10 units here. 4 archers, 3 soldiers, 2 raiders, and a priest. Whereas NorM only has 8 Rax units. Now, of course, with this kind of game, workers are really strong defensively, particularly in a Rax versus Rax. So, and NorM actually is ahead 3 workers. So NorM can afford to lose a couple workers, but here comes the push. 2 raiders are invisible. Let's keep a close eye on these 2 raiders here, as they are going to be doing all that bonus damage. 21 plus 4 plus 30 all. Meanwhile, a couple soldiers from NorM, from Kaitaro move forward. This is a good engagement from NorM because the archers are helping out to fight here. Meanwhile, workers are chasing down the army from Kaitaro. Looks like Kaitaro's archers are kind of getting hugged right now, which is not so good for Kaitaro. He's not getting the damage that he needs down. Meanwhile, the soldiers are cleaned out. However, these raiders are invisible. They are doing really good execution, already picking off a couple workers. And it looks like finally Kaitaro throws down a really clutch heal spell here as he's healing up all his archers. Love for him to just sit in that heal spell for a little bit and get these archers up to full health. Looks like he's not going to do that. He's just kind of derping around here. Meanwhile, the raiders are causing a great pathing problem here. Not only are they adding a ton of DPS to this army, they forced the army from NorM to path in a weird way. Invisibility is only about a third done, so, and even though we have the bird out, it's going to be a little while before that invisibility is actually going to come. In fact, the raiders already come off of invisibility because the spell runs out even before the detection finishes for NorM. However, it looks like finally this army is going to be thrown back and pushed back. But behind all of this, I wasn't paying attention to the macro, but Kaitaro has been staying solid behind. He's already got his 3rd base, and the workers are 27 to 24. So already the advantage for NorM has been stopped. He had a worker advantage, and he ends up with a worker disadvantage. But it looks like on the order of 6 to 7 workers lost there. Actually, excuse me, only 4 workers got picked off during all of that, including 1 from the early game. So actually only 2 workers died in that engagement. Looks like 2 more got picked off recently by these raiders, but they get cleaned up eventually. So I would say, all things considered, it was a really good push from Kaitaro, and the macro behind puts him really far ahead. Although I think NorM could have done a worse job there. Like, that could have been even a killing blow, just considering the unit advantage and the invisibility. But look at these raiders from Kaitaro. It's a little bit sad this raider's going to go down because it was an MVP with a total of 7 kills. But looks like this priest is going to clean it out. Meanwhile, NorM is pushing across the map. He realized he's cleaned up a lot of units, and he is going to be walking across the map. However, an airship full of units is coming here. Kaitaro could actually drop these units on top of the priest and probably kill this entire army. Let's see if that's what he does. Looks like he's just kind of derping it around and leaving at the moment. But there he goes. He starts dropping off his units on top of the soldiers of NorM. And NorM does throw down a healing spell, which is really good, keeping his units alive a lot longer. But they're kind of overwhelmed by the count from Kaitaro, and this push out is going to get punished heavily. Pretty unfortunate for NorM because he can't really afford to lose that many units, and it looks like he is going to be pushed all the way back. If we look at the income tab here, you can see that Kaitaro is significantly ahead here, doing good damage to NorM, and just very cleanly getting his 3-base economy going. NorM's continuing to fight, though. He's doing good work with the healing spells. Looks like, in general, his units are fighting under the healing more than Kaitaro's are, although this healing is doing good stuff. The airship is taking some damage from the priests of NorM. It's almost down here, but it looks like it is going to escape. Both players with kind of detection units hovering around here. So the invisibility spell for Kaitaro really only is helping give that +4 damage. Not much else going on. What I want to do is also check the upgrades here. You You can see that no invisibility has been researched for NorM, so NorM is just working on with healing priests. No invisibility at all for his own units, even though Kaitaro does have the airship in case that did happen. But it looks like finally NorM is going to clean up. He's continued to macro well behind, and he's been able to hold this position. You'll see that NorM is going for this very heavy soldier style. I've noticed that with some of his games recently. He really does rely on those soldiers pretty heavily. Also, no upgrades going in for NorM, whereas the +1 attack is now coming up for Kaitaro, and it looks like he's also going to be getting his range for his archers. So a major tech advantage for our Latin Bloc player in this game. Towers going down, good stuff going down from both players. And invisibility is going to finish up for NorM, so he's going to have now that utility of the invisibility. We do see a lot of airships from Kaitaro, though, so he should be really well prepped to deal with any sort of invisibility. In fact, looks like he's going for a bit of a doom drop. Kind of a strange timing as the doom drop moves out just as NorM hits with his army. I think NorM's trying to use his invisibility timing to try to catch Kaitaro a little bit off guard. Now, dropping on top of soldiers is actually not as ideal as it would be if it was an archer army, because dropping priests and archers on top of soldiers is actually kind of bad, honestly, if we're being honest, because the soldiers, you can see the soldiers getting on top of a couple priests and just getting some free kills. I think Kaitaro just needs to calm down and bulk his army up. A lot of invisibility coming down on archers here, getting that extra DPS bonus from the upgrade, but now NorM is kind of fighting with his own priests and his own healing spells, and these soldiers are doing good work. Overall, really cleaning up a lot of Kaitaro's army, but the archers and priests in the back line are really starting to tell, and these soldiers are getting really low on HP. I think they're going to get cleaned up very quickly. Meanwhile, Kaitaro is going to expand on the right here, get his 4th base going. It's 45 workers to 42, so pretty even in that respect, but it looks like +1 attack does just finish for Kaitaro. Would love to see that range upgrade coming in so his archers can kite a little bit more efficiently, particularly since he's facing an army from NorM that is so soldier heavy. NorM, still no upgrades coming in from NorM. Looks like he's going to be adding, instead, he's going to be adding those mages here. I don't see any mages in production yet. Look at the production tab really briefly here. However, we also see no, well, actually we see a 4th base from NorM coming down. So good timing on the 4th base, actually not too far behind. But he doesn't really have anything to deal with this big drop that's about to hit. He has a single tower in the main base. A tower plus worker pull probably can maybe keep this alive for a little bit, but he's going to have to pull workers fast in order so this tower doesn't get clicked down really, really fast. And it looks like this mage guild might be picked off as well. No response from NorM still. He hasn't pulled his workers or started repairing yet. There he goes, starts on the repair. Would love to see an invisibility detection there. Meanwhile, big engagement coming into the fight here. NorM does have a major unit advantage since a lot of Kaitaro's units are across the map derping around here. But it looks like he does have enough workers to pull to defend. I like the pull of the workers from Kaitaro, just adding a little bit of bulk to his army and giving him the required units to actually win this fight. Also, a couple invisible raiders here added into the fight to add that really strong DPS that the raiders have. And it looks like this army from NorM is going to get completely cleaned up. Both players expanding to the 4th bases. Looking at the unit count, it's 100 supply to 68, 66 for NorM. So NorM is really far behind here. The Mage Guild did get picked off, so NorM is trying to reconstruct that. But his worker count is just really low. Look at his 3rd base, not even saturated. Unfortunately, it looks like his saturation is a little bit wonky. We have, well, actually it's perfect saturation on his natural base, but a couple of these workers really should be transferred to his 3rd base in order to really get clean saturation. Big fight coming on into the middle as well. NorM finally does have his airship up for detection, so that means these invisible raiders and priests from Kaitaro are getting cleaned up. However, the army supply advantage for Kaitaro is massive. He also has 1/1 upgrades on his soldiers. Oh, actually, excuse me, does he have +5? No. Oh, I see. It was +5 because he was invisible, excuse me. But he does have 1/1 upgrades. No range on the archers yet, but which is a little unfortunate. Also, I'm not sure if he has Shroud here. It looks like no. But, you know, overall, there's so many units for Kaitaro, and NorM is just so far behind in supply. He's finally pulling workers. He's trying to get his army going. He can use the tower, perhaps, to hold on a little bit longer. This tower is probably going to get focused down before it finishes, but the tower back here getting repaired is good. And Kaitaro kind of decides not to fully engage there. I think if he A-clicked on the tower, he could have gotten it down and cleaned the workers. But he decides to kind of back up and deal with the army from NorM. I didn't actually notice, but it looks like Kaitaro has added his own mages on here. The fireball upgrade is coming up very, very soon. Meanwhile, Kaitaro, yeah, really just looking clean here. Is well up and up in units. Although he has to be careful. It is 100 supply, about 119, so 20 supply advantage, which ends up being about 10 extra units for the Rax player. Unfortunately, NorM is not finishing that tower. He really could use a second tower. Perhaps if he focuses down the airships, that could be a strong move, as the airships will get killed by towers really quickly if you focus them down correctly. Which is actually what's happening here, because one of these airships is getting really low. Both airships are very, very low in HP, so a couple invisible soldiers really could do work. Kaitaro's now doing a really cool move. He's slowing down the army here from NorM, and meanwhile his forces are killing all the workers and the towers from Kaitaro, or from NorM. NorM is in deep, deep trouble. So many workers getting picked off here. Finally, NorM's army arrives to engage, and this is a very squishy force from Kaitaro. He's actually picking up the majority of his army in his airships and leaving the rest of it to die. I think he actually could have taken a decent fight here, but it looks like he decides it's better to run away. This 4 HP mage from NorM still surviving. Too bad Kaitaro didn't right-click on that. One hit from the other mage would have actually killed it there. But it doesn't really matter particularly. Looking at the supply, look at it. It's 116 to 106. That was actually a... Oh, no! Kaitaro's gonna lose! Oh my gosh, he loses an airship that was full of units. Brutal. The supply is actually even. The only real advantage that Kaitaro has is the upgrades. I can't believe he lost a full airship. That's a full, like, 12 supply down the drain in one fell swoop. A massive, massive loss from Kaitaro. I don't know if NorM... I mean, NorM probably doesn't know that that airship is full of units, but a brutal loss. NorM is now just going to heal up his forces. He does have good tech, and he actually has +1 armor finish for his units, so he's not even as far behind as he used to be in upgrades. He's still 2 upgrades down, which is pretty rough. But, I mean, it's crazy to think that, honestly, the position for NorM is slightly evening up. Now, if he loses another airship, this could be horrible. The airship is almost going down. Oh my gosh, so close. He almost lost the airship, but in fact, good drop from Kaitaro. He keeps the airship alive. I can't believe he almost lost an airship there. If he lost all these mages and units, that would have been brutal. Of course, he does lose 2 mages basically for free here. Kaitaro needs to be so careful that he's not throwing this game at the moment. Looks like the supplies are good. Oh, massive drop. Excuse me, I didn't even notice this. A massive drop coming in here from Kaitaro. He's doing so much damage to his soldiers. He's killing workers all over the place. Meanwhile, NorM's army is kind of just sitting in the middle of the map. Looks like he's kind of getting surrounded. Kaitaro's preparing for a full-on surround here. But meanwhile, these soldiers and mages from Kaitaro, this double drop, is doing so much damage. There's really no defense here for Kaitaro, but NorM is on the warpath. He's invisibling some of his soldiers. He could possibly clean up all the production of Kaitaro if he attacks to the left side, because even though Kaitaro has tons of money, maybe if he cleans up these racks, NorM could win this game. Big fireballs going down, but Kaitaro actually dodges them really well, and meanwhile, oh, huge fireballs hitting. Good hits from NorM. However, so many of his mages are so low on HP now. These mages and priests are trying to focus down the airships now, because we have a couple of invisible units from NorM. Oh my goodness, a huge fireball, and 2 more mages coming up. These units could get fireball down in just a second, and it looks like the superior upgrades from Kaitaro, the 3-1, is going to be enough to clean this up. NorM is on the run, and he is forced to tap out. GG. It looked dicey at several points, but Kaitaro played a really complete game overall, and was able to defeat NorM in a huge victory, and honestly a bit of an upset. I think going into the game, most people would have said NorM is the better player, but Kaitaro stuck in there, played really well, and he gave his team a fighting chance here. Down 0-2, he brings it back 1-2, and he brings it to the 4th map, Dragon Archer Z, up against Destroy Call in the next match, which I will be bringing to you very soon. But hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope it was fun and informative. Good game to Kaitaro. I was impressed when I saw this. I thought he played a really, really good RVR. So I wanted to showcase that for you guys. Yeah, hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you next time.